The older I get, the more I struggle to keep playing a game. Either I lose interest or I just don't get so immersed as I used to. But with the Planet Crafter, it manages to deliver such satisfying gameplay almost from the very start. So how did the devs manage to achieve such consistent satisfaction levels in an open world survival game? A genre guilty of getting boring and repetitive. Well, that's what this video is all about. So stay tuned for a game that sends dopamine directly into your brain at almost every twist and turn, pulling you deeper into this incredibly fun yet rewarding experience. Before we begin, I just need to give some context of this game. The Planet Crafter is an open world survival crafting game that can be played solo or co-op with up to 10 players. It's still relatively new, leaving early access in April this year, and since then it's received a bunch of neat updates, including a DLC. If you've played games like Valheim or Subnautica, you'll know what to expect. The Planet Crafter includes similar gameplay elements like base building, resource gathering, and tons of exploration, but it comes with a twist, something I'll explore more in this video. Something else to point out is that even though it is a survival game, it's a very loose term here. What might put many people off here is the absence of combat. Nothing here is trying to kill you, except maybe for your lack of oxygen, water, and food. There aren't any aliens or predators, it's just you versus this harsh environment, and it's in your hands to change it. Now, before I played this game, I sunk hundreds of hours into Valheim. I loved its gameplay loop that included great exploration, but also incredibly satisfying base building. So if I could find something similar, but set in space, I'd be happy. And while there are other similar great titles out there, many of my friends kept mentioning the Planet Crafter, and after seeing it had overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, I sat forward in my chair. I had to see what made people love this game so much, where your main goal is to terraform a planet and make it habitable, something that I thought wouldn't really appeal to me all that much. But what did appeal to me was that open world survival aspect. This genre is one of my favorites as it lets you craft your own journey and lets you do basically whatever you want. So with that in mind and this banger of a soundtrack, I kept playing for a little while longer, and boy, was I glad that I did. If you're a fan of optimized base building gameplay, then, well, satisfaction in this game starts off pretty much from the very first few minutes. The game doesn't really explain all that much, but you just know that you've crashed onto this barren, desolate planet, being convicted of some unknown crime, and now you'll need to make this world habitable in order to get your escape ticket. Well, the beginning of this game goes pretty much like any other survival game. You know the deal, collect resources, where here it'll be these shiny minerals scattered all on the floor. You'll then use these resources to build up your base, explore further, and repeat. But this game does things a little bit differently. You'll notice that once you start building some machines to increase the planet's vitals, like its pressure, oxygen, heat, and so on, this indicator on the top right, the Terraformation Index or TI, starts to increase. Why is that so important? Well, the higher that number, the more items you get to unlock, and the closer you get to achieving a habitable world. And speaking of achievements, one of the tutorial's tips displayed on the top left is to get to a blue sky. I was curious. It looked like a big task, as my TI looked like it was going up very slowly, but being the base builder type of guy that I am, I wasn't too worried about that right now. I just wanted to get building. After running around this harsh sandy ground, it felt good to get inside my tiny Airbnb cubicle, where here I placed some of my required amenities and necessities. I'm not sure if you'd call this cold desk, the screen, the veggie tube, and the heater cozy, but it started to feel like home. Especially when you realize that you need this place to refill your oxygen after collecting all those minerals out there so that you don't die. After all, it is a survival game. The devs did a great job here in terms of balancing base building and exploration, a key ingredient in satisfying open world survival games. This is because you need oxygen, obviously, to stay alive. So you can spend a lot of time upgrading your base with better equipment without having to worry about that. I really enjoyed this because once you build the unlock screen, You get to see what upgrades get unlocked next when you increase these vitals. Some didn't make sense at all, and some just seemed so out of reach, but I kept staring at the screen, eager to keep upgrading my equipment. Eventually your resources will run out, you won't be able to build anything more, and so you'll need to set out on a new adventure, where here you'll need to collect as many resources as you can in your limited backpack. And here the devs are so good at teasing you, where you'll keep noticing places of interest far out in the distance. Huge spaceships are placed all over that have somehow crashed, and these crazy rock formations make you soon realize there's a lot more to this planet than you originally thought. So by now, the start of the game already had me hooked. But what came next raised my satisfaction levels even more once I had made a little more progress. At first, the exploration part is pretty tough. You'll need to set out with enough food, oxygen, and water supplies as you head out, and these don't really last too long, so it can get pretty terrifying, like when you're stuck in a spaceship getting lost and you don't know how to get out of there. Those were always the worst for me. Or when you say getting lost because, yeah, setting up the map in the beginning isn't all that easy to do. You might just find yourself wandering around and then turn around and realize, where am I? Eventually you will start exploring hidden caves filled with shiny, colorful minerals, or you'll be going deeper in those spaceships you saw earlier. And here, this is where the game's addiction levels start increasing, much like that terraformation index. My brain constantly wanted to see what was around the next corner, or further in the spaceship, or what was behind that ice over there. Unlike other survival games, the environment works a little differently here. At first I thought the terraforming of the planet would just include changing the blue sky or the ground from orange to green, but this game takes it a whole step further. Early in the game, you'll be able to build this progress screen that shows you how close you are to reaching the next phase in this terraformation, and that includes the place that you crashed right in the beginning. And honestly, I think the devs did this on purpose, as it really reinforces that idea that the environment is anything but static around you. This gives you an increase in motivation to explore even further, because the more you terraform, the more you get to explore on this barren planet. And at first the movement seems very slow, but there's an upgrade for everything in this game. Speaking of upgrades, what I'll explain next might be one of the best gameplay designs I've ever come across in a survival game like this. So something else I think the devs really nailed here is the time spent between your exploration missions or your adventures. Often survival games have a lull where you're not doing all that much, mainly just optimizing your base or crafting new resources, but it's so important to keep this part engaging. It's often the part of the game where I can spend most of my hours in, so I always appreciate the little details and tweaks to the gameplay here. And in the Planet Crafter, I noticed subtle things that kept me hooked. For starters, you can just easily label your storage boxes, which is great if you're someone like me and just throws everything they have on them into the closest box available. Then there's the info screens that really make it incredibly easy to know what to upgrade next. And then there's the immersion of the base itself. While it might not be as customizable as say the stuff you'll find in Valheim, I still really enjoyed coming back to my base after some time and just thinking, see this? I made this. Building is relatively basic, but it doesn't mean that you can't get creative. Building your base room by room means more time that can go into efficient setups, but it also allows you to quickly design a base that resembles something that you'd find on a sci-fi show or movie. There is nothing like unlocking something new, like a crafting machine or some new screens, and then you get the thrill of building a new upstairs or a new room to accommodate it all. I say thrill, but fans of base builders will know what I mean. After a few hours, you can then sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. The hum of the machines, the various desks and screens you've put all over, the plants slowly starting to grow, it starts to kind of feel like a home. And after each meteor shower or running into your base after an intense harsh sandstorm, there's this odd sense of relief as you step back inside. That then brings me to that upgrade system. With similar games, you'll often need to defeat a boss or build something special to unlock a new layer of upgrades. but not really in the Planet Crafter. And that's because all of the planet vitals, including that terraformation index, increase dynamically every single second. So you can unlock something literally at any point of your gameplay. I mean, a classic example of how this game keeps you playing is when, say, you've been going at it for a few hours, plan to log off, and then all of a sudden, bam, new item unlocked. And now your mind is filled with everything that needs to happen to get that item built. It's crazy. And when it comes to the items that you can build, I'd say it's split into two areas. First, there's these upgradable items. These will be like your mining machines, your power, your veggie tubes for your oxygen, your heaters to keep your buns warm, and so on. When you unlock a higher tier for these, you'll want to build them as soon as possible. You can't just automatically upgrade the ones that you have, but you don't have to dismantle them if you don't want to. And something else I loved about this game is that you can build most of these machines outside, but you don't have to place them next to your base. You can place them wherever you want. And I think this is perfect if you don't want to create too much clutter, or you just want to create something that looks quite unique. Then you have the non-upgradable items, things like decorations or big once-off items like this massive rocket launcher here. I think these are the best because unlocking these, for the most part, you'll always question yourself, okay, what is this? I need it, I don't know why, but I must build it immediately. And the more you focus on building machines that increase the planet's vitals, especially those rockets that, damn, they increase the vitals like a lot, like 1000%. It creates a constant juggle of what you need to build next. But either way, they all contribute to your terraformation index, so any progress that you make is good progress. Except now you get to decide what you want to focus on. And it's happening all the time. Such a brilliant concept. But what came next made me realize where the true beauty of this game lies. The true satisfaction of a game like this. The terraformation. Now, it's so hard for me to explain this section without giving away too many spoilers. I'll try my best here. So don't worry, I won't give away anything that isn't shown in the trailer, or anything that you won't see within the first few hours of gameplay. As, to be honest, the less you know about the game, the better. Let me explain. I was loving the game already. The music, building out my base, going on adventures, and so on. But once you start making more progress in the terraformation part, and the planet starts to change around you, that's when peak satisfaction occurs. I mean, the early part of the game looked pretty bleak for me. From the ruddy sky to the ruddier ground, everything was pure rud. But the devs did this for a reason. They made the planet look depressing so that you could truly appreciate the subtle terraforming changes around you. Honestly, when I first saw grass appearing after I threw down that grass grower, or the algae generator generating all that algae, I was hooked. That depressing orange sky becomes a bright, hopeful blue. Vibrant greens appear from grass and algae, where before there was only that depressing, barren desert. It's like every little change in Valheim or Subnautica, except this time it's on a planetary scale, and it's happening because of what you did. The game has this snowball effect. It was like I just wanted to keep playing to see what was coming next. And something to realize here is that this is only the beginning of the game. And it does such a great job at keeping you interested, where before you were just collecting minerals on the floor, it then starts to slowly transition away from that, and then getting you to create more items that can help sustain life. So remember when I first mentioned that I was standing outside my little base thinking, I made this? Well, soon you'll be standing on top of a large rock staring at a terraformed green planet with wild animals and plants all over the place and thinking the same thing. And as much as I'd love to show that part to you, I realize that that would just spoil the satisfaction of seeing it firsthand. The less you know about what happens in this game, the better. I will say this though, is that it only gets better from here. Now, the Planet Crafter might not be the most hardcore survival game out there, but everything that I mentioned above combines to create a satisfying gameplay loop that I just had to share with you. If you're a fan of survival games like Valheim or Subnautica and love a good flow of base building and exploration, this game might just have you hooked. And I mean, it's not perfect. The graphics are a little rough, the animations are a bit stiff, but that core gameplay loop, all I can think of was this feels good meme every time I played the game. I'm so looking forward to seeing further updates in this game. So if you've played it, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this. Or maybe just stick around for videos that I think you might enjoy. But now, for the Beastie Boys. Cobalt, iron, ice, sand, obsidian. From a barren earth to the one with amphibians. Mining, base building, and some bracken. Brown to green, planet crafter, you make it happen. Solar panels, glass growers, trees, icebreakers. Miners, drone flyers, and ozone makers. We come together on the Martian cause. Terraforming goals, whoever you are.